Welcome back to the deep dive. This time we're diving into Dan Brown's Angels and Demons,
Yeah.
specifically chapters 21 to 66.
Okay.
So you've given us this chunk of the book, so there must be something here that really grabbed you.
Right.
What's the mission for this deep dive?
Well, this section is where all the action really explodes.
Okay.
We're talking antimatter,
Yeah, wow.
secret societies, and a race against time to save the Vatican.
That's intense.
It's a wild ride, and I think you'll be surprised by some of the connections that we uncover.
Okay, so antimatter is the first thing that really jumps out.
Right.
I remember trying to wrap my head around that concept when I first read the book.
Yeah.
What exactly is antimatter, and why is it so dangerous?
It's like the evil twin of matter, you know?
Yeah.
Every particle of matter has an antimatter counterpart.
There.
And when they meet,
Yeah.
poof, they annihilate each other in a burst of energy.
Wow.
And Brown isn't making this up.
All right.
Antimatter is real, and it's one of the most powerful substances known to science.
So someone stole this incredibly volatile substance from CERN,
Right.
a major scientific research center.
Yeah.
And it's not just sitting in a vial somewhere, is it?
No, exactly.
Okay.
It's contained as a specifically designed trap
Okay.
created by Vittoria Vetra,
Right.
our brilliant physicist character.
Oh.
She's the daughter of the murdered scientist, which adds a whole other layer to this.
Yeah, definitely.
The trap uses magnetic fields to suspend the antimatter
Okay.
in a vacuum, preventing it from touching any matter and causing a catastrophic explosion.
Well, this crap isn't foolproof, is it? I mean, there's a reason why we have this ticking time bomb scenario.
Oh, right. The canister holding the antimatter has a limited battery backup,
Oh.
just 24 hours.
Yikes.
So not only do we have a mystery on our hands,
Yeah.
but it's a mystery with a deadline, and that's what really ratchets up the tension in this section of the book.
And then there's the whole Illuminati angle.
Right.
A secret society, a murdered scientist branded with their symbol.
Yeah.
It's like something straight out of a conspiracy thriller.
The Illuminati are a fascinating element in the story.
Definitely.
They represent the clash between science and religion,
Oh.
reason and faith.
Interesting.
Their symbol, the ambigram, is
Yeah.
a clever touch.
Yeah.
It can be read the same way upside down and right side up,
Oh, wow.
symbolizing duality and hidden meanings.
Yeah.
Are they really behind this, or is it all a setup? Those are the questions that keep you hooked as a reader.
The Vatican itself becomes a major character in this section.
Definitely.
It's not just a backdrop. It's a place steeped in history,
Right.
tradition, and, of course, secrets.
You got it.
So Brown really does his research.
Oh, yeah.
He throws you right into the heart of the Vatican,
Yeah.
the conclaves, the Swiss Guard,
Mm-hmm.
the secret archives. It's
Mhm.
also vividly described.
Right.
And within this setting, you have Langdon and Vittoria trying to warn the church about this impending danger.
Uh-huh.
But they're met with skepticism
Yeah.
and resistance.
Yeah. They're not really believed.
It's like they're speaking a different language.
Yeah. You're right.
I remember feeling so frustrated for that.
Yeah.
Here they are with this like earth-shattering information, and no one believes them.
It makes you think, right?
Yeah.
What happens when our deeply held beliefs
Yeah.
are challenged by something that seems impossible?
Right.
The Vatican officials, especially Commander Olivetti of the Swiss Guard,
Yeah.
represent that resistance to change that fear of the unknown.
The Camerlengo, though,
Yeah.
he's a different story.
Yeah, he is.
He's the late Pope's Chamberlain,
Right.
and he seems more open to the possibility of a threat,
Yeah.
even if he doesn't fully buy into the Illuminati narrative.
He's caught in the middle.
Yeah.
He has a duty to protect the church.
Right.
But he's also a man of reason.
Yeah.
He sees the potential danger,
Mhm.
the scientific evidence,
Yeah.
but he's grappling with the implications, you know?
I didn't say-
This internal conflict makes him a really intriguing character.
Definitely.
What would you do if you were in his shoes?
Honestly, I don't know. It's like he's trying to balance on a tightrope
Right.
between faith and logic.
Exactly.
But while he's wrestling with this, Langdon is focused on one thing,
Yeah.
finding the antimatter before it explodes.
Yeah.
And that leads him on a chase through Rome,
Yeah.
following the path of illumination.
Here's where Brown's knowledge of art and symbology shines.
Okay.
The path isn't just a random trail. It's a series of clues hidden in plain sight,
Oh.
embedded in famous works of art and architecture.
Wow.
Langdon has to decipher these symbols,
Yeah.
each one leading him closer to the antimatter.
One of the most memorable scenes for me was Langdon's exploration of the Vatican's secret archives.
Oh, yeah.
It's a place shrouded in mystery.
Yeah.
And the way Brown describes it makes it feel almost otherworldly.
It's a giant puzzle box.
Yeah.
Millions of documents, ancient texts, historical artifacts,
Whoa.
all organized by theme rather than chronologically.
Really?
Can you imagine trying to find something specific in there?
I can't even imagine.
Langdon has to navigate this labyrinth,
Yeah.
battling claustrophobia and dwindling oxygen levels, all while searching for a crucial piece of the puzzle. Galileo's Diagramma della Verità.
Right. This diagramma,
Yeah.
it's not just some old document.
Yeah.
It holds the key to understanding the path of illumination.
Right.
And Langdon is literally racing against time to find it.
Exactly.
It's one of those moments where you can't help but hold your breath.
And what he discovers is that the path isn't just a trail of symbols.
Oh, yeah.
It's a scientific map.
Oh, wow.
The altar of science.
The altar of science.
Each location on this altar is marked by a Bernini sculpture,
Wow.
chosen by the Illuminati for its specific scientific significance.
So they're really into science.
Yeah, it's like they're turning the city of Rome itself into a giant science experiment.
And with each location they uncover, another cardinal is found murdered,
Right.
branded with an Illuminati symbol.
Yeah.
The stakes just keep getting higher.
It's a chilling reminder that this isn't just an intellectual game. There are real lives at stake.
Yeah.
And the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
The killings add a layer of urgency and brutality to the story, making it clear that the Illuminati, or whoever is behind this, are not playing around.
The final marker on the path leads to Castel San Angelo,
Yes.
a fortress with a long and fascinating history.
Right.
It's a fitting location for the climax of this section of the book.
Castel San Angelo has connections to both the Vatican and the Illuminati,
Okay.
making it a symbolic battleground.
Yeah.
This is where Langdon finally confronts the assassin who's been carrying out the killings. But as the story unfolds, we get a shocking twist. The assassin is not working alone.
Oh, wow.
There's a mastermind behind all of this, someone pulling the strings.
And that's where this section leaves us,
Right.
hanging on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, big cliff.
Who is this mastermind?
Right.
And what are they really after? It's enough to make you want to devour the rest of the book in one sitting.
This is where things get really interesting. We've explored the science, the history, the symbolism, and the action,
Yeah.
but the real heart of the mystery is still waiting to be uncovered.
Can't wait to dive into that.
Me too.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Sounds good. Remember that cliffhanger we left off on? We'll get ready for a real shocker. The mastermind behind this whole elaborate plot is none other than the Camerlengo himself.
Wait, what? The Camerlengo? I mean, he's the late Pope's right-hand man. Why would he do something like this? Doesn't make sense.
On the surface, it seems completely out of character, but when you delve into his motivations, a twisted logic emerges.
Okay.
He sees science, particularly the discovery of antimatter, as a threat to faith. He views it as a rival to God, something that could undermine the church's authority.
So he concocts this plan to use the Illuminati as scapegoats, to frame them for the antimatter threat and the murders.
Exactly. He wants to create a crisis, a clash between science and religion that would ultimately strengthen the church's position.
Yeah.
He believes that by uniting the faithful against a common enemy, he can restore their belief in the power of God.
It's a pretty extreme way to go about it.
Yeah.
Incredibly risky. I mean, antimatter doesn't discriminate. It could destroy everything.
That's the irony of it all. The Camerlengo's plan backfires spectacularly. He loses control of the situation, and the antimatter canister hidden in the Vatican necropolis is about to explode.
Talk about raising the stakes. So now the Camerlengo has to race against time to save the very people he was trying to manipulate.
He makes a desperate gamble. Stealing the antimatter canister, he tries to fly it away from the city in a helicopter. It's a last-ditch effort to redeem himself and prevent a catastrophe.
Hold on. So the Camerlengo, a man of the clock, steals a helicopter and flies off with a canister of antimatter. It sounds like something out of an action movie.
It's definitely one of the most dramatic scenes in the book, but this daring escape doesn't go as planned. The helicopter runs out of fuel and crashes. The Camerlengo manages to parachute to safety, though he's badly burned.
Wow, that's intense. But what about the antimatter? Does it explode?
It does. High above the city, the canister detonates in a blinding flash of light. But here's the surprising thing. It causes minimal damage. The energy dissipates harmlessly into the atmosphere.
That's a relief. But what about the Camerlengo? His plan failed, he's injured, and now everyone knows he was behind it all. What happens to him?
This is where his story takes an unexpected turn. Despite his actions, he experiences a profound spiritual transformation. He realizes the error of his ways, that faith and science are not mutually exclusive. They can coexist, even complement each other.
So he goes from fanatic to a more enlightened perspective. That's quite a journey.
It is. And it raises some fascinating questions about the nature of faith, the dangers of extremism, and the relationship between science and religion in the modern world.
It seems like Langdon plays a crucial role in this whole ordeal. He's not just chasing clues, he's challenging the Camerlengo's worldview.
Langdon acts as a voice of reason, a counterpoint to the Camerlengo's fanaticism. He represents logic and critical thinking in the face of chaos and fear, and through their interactions, both men are forced to confront their own beliefs and biases.
They both undergo transformations, but in very different ways.
Exactly. Langdon the skeptic starts to see the power of faith, even if he doesn't fully embrace it. And the Camerlengo, the zealot, comes to realize that his actions were misguided and ultimately harmful.
What about Vittoria? Where does she fit into all of this? She's dealing with the loss of her father, the threat of the antimatter, and now this revelation about the Camerlengo.
Vittoria's journey is just as compelling. She starts out focused on her scientific work, but she's drawn into this world of ancient secrets and religious conflict. Her relationship with Langdon deepens as they work together, and she begins to question her own assumptions about faith and science.
I'm starting to see why you said this section of the book is so explosive. There's so much going on, so many layers to unpack. It's not just about solving a mystery. It's about exploring complex ideas and the human condition.
And there are still some loose ends to tie up. Remember Maximilian Kohler, the director of CERN? He makes a surprise appearance towards the end, revealing that he's terminally ill.
He's the one who was initially suspicious of the Vatican rite. I wonder what role he plays in all of this.
Kohler seeks answers and wants to make amends for his part in the crisis. He reveals a crucial piece of evidence, a recording of his confrontation with the Camerlengo, where the Camerlengo confesses to his crimes.
Wow, that's a game changer. Does he use the recording to expose the Camerlengo?
Instead of seeking revenge or using the recording to discredit the church, Kohler gives it to Langdon. He entrusts him to do what's right. It's a powerful act of forgiveness, even in the face of betrayal and death.
So Langdon is left with a heavy burden. What does he do with this information?
That's the cliffhanger that propels us into the final part of the book. Langdon is torn between his desire to protect the church, an institution he respects despite his skepticism, and his obligation to reveal the truth. It's a moral dilemma with no easy answers.
So we're left with Langdon holding this bombshell of a recording, the Camerlengo's confession. And the Camerlengo himself has vanished. Where does the story go from here?
It's almost like the calm after the storm. The antimatter threat is gone, but now we have this wave of shock and confusion in its wake. The Swiss Guard are frantically searching for the Camerlengo, fearing the worst. But then they find him in a most unexpected place, the Vatican grottos, kneeling before the tomb of St. Peter.
The Vatican grottos. That's
Yeah.
where the tombs of past popes are. It seems symbolic, almost like he's seeking forgiveness or guidance from those who came before him.
Exactly. It's a place of deep spiritual significance. But here's the twist. He's not dead. He's in a trance-like state, and his body is marked with strange burns resembling stigmata.
Stigmata. Those are the wounds that are said to appear on the hands and feet of people who have intensely spiritual experiences mirroring Christ's crucifixion. It's a pretty heavy image.
It certainly adds another layer of complexity to the Camerlengo's character. Is this a genuine mystical experience, a sign of divine intervention? Or is it a final act of manipulation, a way to further his agenda? Brown leaves that open to interpretation.
What about the cardinals? They're in the middle of conclave trying to elect a new pope. How do they react to all of this?
They're divided. Some see the Camerlengo's burns as proof of his holiness, a sign that he's been chosen by God. Others, like Cardinal Mortati, are skeptical. They've seen the Camerlengo's darker side, his willingness to manipulate and deceive.
A crisis of faith on a massive scale. The very foundation of their belief system is being shaken.
And then something extraordinary happens. As the cardinals gather in the Sistine Chapel for the final vote, white smoke emerges from the chimneys, signaling that a new pope has been chosen. But the doors remain closed. No one comes out.
You're kidding? That's incredible. What's going on inside?
The cardinals are bewildered. They finally force open the doors and enter the chapel. And there, standing on the altar, bathed in an ethereal light, is the Camerlengo.
Okay, now I'm really on the edge of my seat. Does he declare himself the new pope?
Not quite. Instead, he delivers a stunning confession. He reveals the truth about his actions, his motivations, his descent into fanaticism, and his eventual spiritual awakening.
So he admits to everything orchestrating the plot, framing the Illuminati, trying to destroy the antimatter.
He lays it all bare. It's a moment of raw honesty and profound remorse. He acknowledges the harm he's caused and asks for forgiveness.
What's the reaction of the cardinals? Do they condemn him?
They're moved by his confession, his vulnerability, and his unwavering faith. They see a man who was lost but has found his way back. They understand the immense pressure he was under, the sacrifices he believed he had to make.
It's almost like a Greek tragedy.
Hmm.
A good man driven to extremes by his convictions, ultimately redeemed by his own suffering.
There's definitely an element of that. The cardinals, in a sense, forgive him, but they also understand that he can no longer lead the church. His actions have caused too much damage, too much division.
So what happens to him? Does he face punishment?
He chooses to step down from his position, to seek solitude and penance for his sins. He disappears into the night, leaving behind a legacy that's both troubling and inspiring.
It's a bittersweet ending. He's a cautionary tale about the dangers of blind faith and the seductive nature of power, but he's also a testament to the possibility of redemption, even for those who have committed grave errors.
And what about Langdon? He started this journey as a symbologist, a decoder of symbols, but he ends up confronting some of the biggest questions facing humanity: faith, reason, the search for meaning. What does he take away from all of this?
I think he comes to a deeper understanding of the complexities of faith and the enduring power of belief even in the face of scientific advancements. He sees how easily fear and fanaticism can twist even the most noble intentions.
And he's entrusted with a heavy burden, the Camerlengo's confession. He has to decide what to do with this information, how to balance the need for truth with the potential for further damage.
That's a decision with huge implications. It could rock the very foundations of the Catholic Church. Does Brown give us any answers? Does Langdon reveal the truth?
That's something Brown leaves for us to ponder. He doesn't offer easy answers. He challenges us to consider the consequences of our choices, the ripple effects that our actions can have on the world.
It's a powerful ending to a truly captivating deep dive. We've explored science and religion, history and art, good and evil. We've been on a roller coaster of emotions, fear, excitement, intrigue, shock, and even a bit of awe.
Angels and Demons isn't just a thriller. It's a thought-provoking exploration of some of the biggest questions facing humanity. It encourages us to think critically, to question our assumptions, and to engage in respectful dialogue even when we disagree.
And that's what we aim to do here on the Deep Dive. We've only scratched the surface of this book, but we hope we've sparked some interesting ideas and maybe even challenged a few perspectives along the way.
If this deep dive resonated with you, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your insights, your interpretations, your burning questions. Let's keep the conversation going.
And don't forget to subscribe to the Deep Dive for more explorations into fascinating topics. We'll be back soon with another deep dive ready to unpack more knowledge and uncover more hidden connections. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.